And welcome back to the Sooner Surge. And today we are joined by how many are there? One, two, three, four, five. It's more than I can count. Writers from SurgeSportsNetwork.com for another episode of March Madness recap. This time, round two was over the weekend, round of 32, and uh, there was some shockers. We got Princeton going to the Sweet 16. Then we also have some one seeds that are no longer with us, and we have one of their fans here, Javen. So, Javen, give you the floor first on Kansas, Arkansas.
I mean, um, it was a tough one not having Self there. That was definitely a big hurt, and I think it makes a big difference, possibly even winning the game. But even with Self, there were a lot of holes on this team, and I think Arkansas really kind of attacked those, especially when it came to the depth. You could tell guys were tired at the end, and they weren't able to quite make it through.
Yeah, this is a game that on the March Madness round one recap, I think a lot of us, I know Seth and Jonathan were on that one. We highlighted this game as one of the ones to watch as far as maybe an upset. Part of that was, I think, because Bill Self wasn't coaching. And guys, when you get in March, it's coaches make a massive difference. You don't have to look very far. Tom Izzo, the guy the guy just wins every March. It's ridiculous. But Bill Self, I think, would have made a difference in that game. And again, we just mentioned this briefly in our chat before we started this, but the display that Eric Musselman put on was ridiculous with the shirt.
Oh,
I,
gosh.
Unbelievable, dude. I actually like the guy a little bit, but to me, that's a lot of very impulsive. And I think I talked about it about Chris Beard, guys, on whatever the last pod was. I'm not sure that that's going to bode well for him in the long run. But yeah, definitely Kansas. What's the story that you're hearing on Grady Dick, Javen?
Most likely he's gone. He's projected to even go higher than Wilson, and so
Oh,
it's pretty high doubt that he'll stay. It'd be nice though. Could definitely use it.
yeah.
Well,
We'll
I'll say
switch.
the takeaway that I have from that game, Javen, the one thing that would frustrate me the most, as if I was a Kansas fan in your shoes, is that Nick Smith Jr. He was a no-show,
Yeah,
and he's Arkansas' best player, and it really isn't even close.
yeah. I was really disappointed in them being able to stop Devontae Davis in the second half. It just felt like there weren't very many adjustments. Like when they made that 11-0 run, um, there wasn't really a timeout called, and the only subs they made were between Ejiofor and Clements, and you could tell when they were in the game, the offense was just so slow and they couldn't do anything. Even with Adams and Uday having 4 fouls, I think they still would have played better.
Yeah. And there, Roberts has been under he's been in Big 12 games with the Big 12 tournament. And, when Self was serving his suspension, but it's a totally different animal when you get into NCAA tournament second round, going to the Sweet 16. I think maybe not calling not using a timeout there. That did come back to haunt them. And there's some other adjustments like you mentioned in your article today, Javen, that I agree with. That Self maybe could have been the difference there.
Yeah, definitely. And then, as impulsive as it was at the end of the game by Musselman to take his shirt off, it was a well coached game. They attacked KU really well. I think they really went for KU's weaknesses and they shot them right down, especially in the second half. You could tell they made those adjustments.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's go to one seed that's still in the tournament. Claire, share with us just thoughts on Bama. In my opinion, Bama's got now the bracket's wide open for them with next round in San Diego State, and then you got the winner of Creighton, Princeton. So, Claire, yeah, talk to us about Alabama and what you're seeing.
Yeah, I've really been proud of this team, how they've grown over the year from, their what they took of their loss to OU and how the team had overcome that, and Coach Oates really used that as a coaching moment, and that they've succeeded past that. This is the best Alabama football team we've ever had in history. In the 112 years, I believe, that we've housed a basketball program. And I was very nervous at the start of the Maryland game. I don't think we took a lead until 7 minutes and 30 seconds left in the first half. And so that was a little nerve-wracking to see, but we really pulled through. I was a little nervous about Brandon Miller and his injury. He did not practice on Friday, and so that was I was interested to see how he would perform, and he ended the night with like 19 points, and I was mightily surprised. But Javon Quinterly really came out and stole the show yet again. And yeah, it was a great game. Battle of the defenses.
Yeah, to me, that's what's going to separate Alabama is, man, when they get after you defensively, and it's a lot like Houston. I know Jonathan's going to probably see a little bit of Houston if they can get there, but man, the defense that these guys are playing with the athleticism. I mean, there's that one span of the game when Brandon Miller blocks the shot on one end from behind, goes down and nails a three. That was like, man, you can definitely see the athleticism pouring out. And the guy that you mentioned there, Claire, was Quinterly.
Yeah.
So he's the ACL guy, right?
Yeah, he tore his ACL first round in last year's tournament, and then got replaced this year by Jaden Bradley, and did not even come. He didn't get his first start this year until the first game of the SEC tournament. So he's only started the last 5 games. So he's really he's a senior. So.
And I'm going to be honest, whenever I watched Alabama play against OU, I really thought, oh, Alabama's in trouble. This is the downfall of their season. But just like you said, Claire, that you've been impressed with how their coach is Nate Oates, right? That's his name.
Yeah.
How he's been able to kind of bring this team together. And Alabama's shown that they can win in many different ways. And they're going to be maybe the toughest team to beat the rest of the tournament.
Yeah. It's really funny to see what they came from with the loss to OU and where they've come to now. And, you know, if we win, this is only the 10th time in program history we've made it to the Sweet 16. And if we win against San Diego State on Friday, it will be the first time in program history that we've ever been to the Elite Eight. So big accomplishments and feats for the basketball team.
Yeah, definitely a new era, I guess, of Alabama basketball that we're seeing. And I don't have anything really against Alabama basketball. I will say that I thought the SEC was overrated, but they're proving to be a pretty good, strong conference, really. Big 12 maybe was a little bit overrated, but we'll get to the Big 12 in a second. Jonathan, with you. Seth, I guess I jinxed Missouri with the round 1 recap when I said that Princeton had no shot and was going to blow them out of the water. I'm like the lead Corso on this show, so usually when I make a prediction, we can take the opposite. But what do you have to? And I am the oldest guy on here, so I'm definitely lead Corso. What about the Missouri Tigers, man?
Yeah, Jeremy, all day after you said that, I was sitting around and I'm like, I really just do not have a good feeling about this basketball game. And you know what? I turned out to be right. You take a look at the Missouri Tigers in this one. You want a difference maker. They were out rebounded 44-30 from on the 3-point arc. They were outshot 12-6. So Princeton was able to find it from beyond the arc. And, that was a huge difference in this one. Another huge difference is that Princeton found an answer for a scorching hot Demoy Hodge. They held him to 2 points. He was 1 of 6 from the field, 0 of 3 from 3. DeAndre Golston, he led the way for the Tigers in scoring with 19 points, but it just felt like no matter what the Missouri Tigers tried to do, Princeton, they found a way to get through the defense. It was just a struggle for Missouri to keep guys in front of them, and that's reflected in the final score. Princeton, a great team. They won 78-63, and it just seems that, no team has really had an answer for them yet, and that's going to be interesting as they take on Creighton in the Sweet 16. But really, that game, I don't think really shows what this Missouri Tigers team was this year. I talked about it, thinking back to last year with Quanzo Martin, every time you saw a Missouri Tigers game in Mizzou Arena, the place was empty. The students, they didn't really show out. The public didn't really show out. It was a pretty empty Mizzou Arena. Mizzou, they tried to do giveaways. They tried to get people, in seats, and that just didn't happen. So, you see Quanzo Martin, the university lets him go. They bring in Dennis Gates, and it felt like for the first time in a while, there was a little bit of buzz around the Missouri Tigers basketball team. And they start off the season 9-0. They're selling out Mizzou Arena. They're winning SEC games. They're taking leads, and more importantly, they're holding leads until the end. I can't remember how many times, in Quanzo Martin's last season, whenever the Tigers had a lead, someone would tell me about it. And I'm like, well, let's check back in 5 minutes and see how that's going for Mizzou. But, Dennis Gates, he revived a program, and, these guys like Trago Million, he's gone after this year, DeAndre Golson, Demoy Hodge, Nick Honor, all those guys, they were all graduate students on the team this year. So that's going to be a tough loss to them. I think Missouri Tigers fans, they owe a lot to Dennis Gates, those seniors, as well as Kobe Brown. They revived a program that was in desperate need of some energy.
Yeah, and they do lose a lot, but I mean, they can just check. OU or TU's got several guys that have entered the portal. OU's not keeping anyone around. It looks like no one's wanting to play here in Norman, so Hunter will be suiting it up, like we said, next year.
Yeah, can you blame people for not wanting to play in Norman?
Pretty bad.
I'm going to be playing. And I'm not necessarily enthused to play for Porter Moser. I don't like the guy, but I'll do everything I can to get us a win. So 100 points, probably will still lose. Anyhow, as much as it pains me to bring up this next topic, Jonathan, Texas Longhorns moving on to the Sweet 16.
Yeah, this game was, I'm going to be honest, it was a rough one. It was a rough one to watch, especially with the Longhorns shooting the three, but the defense stepped up. I was told all day by Hunter that Penn State's three-point shooting, and specifically the shooting of, I think, Andrew Funk, was going to send the Longhorns home. And if Funk went 2 of 10 from three, so it's safe to say he was in that shooting funk.
I think it was Penn State shot like 20% from three as a team, and Texas made one all game, right?
Yeah, Penn State was 8 of 28 for 28% from three, and Texas was 1 of 13 for 7% from three. But the three-point shot doesn't need to go for Dylan Dessou. Dylan Dessou, I said in the first March Madness recap that he's made the month of March his month, and he has continued on that with 28 points and the, I believe, school record for most made field goals in a March Madness game. Is either the most attempted field goals or most made field goals. He went 14 of 20. Serge Barry Rice and Tyrese Hunter and Marcus Carr didn't really build up on the shooting performances they had in the first one, but they played their role right along with Timmy Allen defensively. It was another defensive masterclass from Rodney Terry, and the offense got the scoring when it needed to. 71-66 does not show how rough it was scoring for these two teams. I mean, these teams were having to get down low scoring. I want to say Texas had 40 points in the paint this game. It was a rough shooting game for both teams and a very good defensive effort by both coaches. And I think the score shows a bit more offense than actually happened if you watch that full game.
Well, that's what's crazy, Jonathan. 1 3-pointer and you still hang 71 points on them. Yeah. Is impressive, and to win the game. Because if you'd have told me before the game to make 1 3-pointer, I would have said there's no chance. But the big guys, man, you're right. I mean, in the paint, they're a team, and we'll start with Jaxon here. Since we just got a recap of all the teams, now we're going to get everyone involved and maybe talking about some things. Jaxon, let's just go around and try to leave your team out of it if possible. It may be hard to do, but what would the dream matchup be for an NCAA tournament final here?
Well, I would really to me, the matchup I would like to see the most would obviously be Kansas State and Houston, because that's who I picked. But also, I would not be
You're hard
opposed.
out, Jackson. Who would you see dream-wise basketball?
I'm gonna be honest. I would like to see Princeton go all the way. Now, I don't care who they play, because who doesn't like to see a Cinderella story go all the way?
Okay. What about you, Hunter?
Yeah, Princeton is one I think really could obviously it's a Cinderella. They're always going to lose at some point. But with Princeton, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sorry, Seth, but they kind of had a blowout win, and usually these Cinderella teams are very close games, fought out. They're won by single digits, and it was a lot closer, or a lot not close, as the scoreboard said, because I could be wrong, but I think it was 20. I'm sorry, Seth.
Yeah, I mean, it got out of hand. I had to walk away. It was it wasn't fun to watch, but no, Princeton, they definitely showed that, you know, they have what it takes. You know, they want people to keep doubting them. You know, I think that as these Cinderella teams progress and teams don't doubt them as much, I think that kind of starts to spell the recipe for disaster for them. But if teams can keep overlooking the Princeton Tigers are going to keep winning.
Yeah, and I don't know that Creighton's going to overlook them for sure. Creighton's got a great starting five, like we talked about in the last one. But I mean, my dream matchup is Alabama-Houston. Just from a basketball standpoint. Now, I would love for Princeton to be in the finals. I mean, that'd be great. But overall, for a basketball watching standpoint, in my opinion, NBA guys, it's going to be someone like Alabama-Houston, I think, would be the most intriguing watch for me. What about others on here?
I would say Alabama and UCLA. I just really like the way UCLA plays. And I think I love the way Tiger Campbell plays as well. Short guy, but he's scrappy. He finds a way to lead that team. And so I think they're just a fun team to watch play basketball.
I totally forgot about UCLA.
Yeah, Pac-12 team.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't really give my dream matchup, so I'll go ahead and give mine for a couple of reasons. Partly, me and Jackson surprisingly have the same national champion pick, which is crazy. We don't agree on anything, and we both have K-State Houston. So K-State's really fun to watch right now. They are really fun. Jeremy has mentioned it, that March Madness is starting to be, especially criticizing Jason, who is not here. You don't have to have a big. And K-State, look, John Calipari was losing his mind in the post-game press conference yesterday over the fact that they out-rebounded K-State by 19 and lost. He couldn't believe it. And that's just what K-State did. I think they had multiple guards with 20-plus points. I could be wrong on that. I know they had one guy with 27. Anyhow, would really love to see the K-State matchup with Houston. And Houston getting to the Final Four by way of being down by 2 with 0.5 seconds left. A full court heave to upset the Texas Longhorns and send Jonathan home. And Jonathan lives in Houston, so if the Longhorns do go to the Final Four, he will be there. So would love to see the hopes and dreams ripped away from the Longhorn fans.
Well, and then also another thing about Kansas State is I love how creative they've become with inbound plays now. I don't know if you guys saw it, but they're running like football style plays. Like, dude, what Jerome Tang has done with this Kansas State team, he's revived that program. Kansas State is going to be a basketball powerhouse, I think, over the next years to come.
Yeah, where's he from, Jerome Tang?
He was an assistant at, I think it was Baylor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No one's doing the kind of stuff he's doing. He actually said it was because of Patrick Mahomes. If you listen to
Mm-hmm.
Claire, Jonathan?
I think everyone's sleeping on Gonzaga. I just love watching Gonzaga play, and I really think they're being slept on. I don't think I had them going very far in my bracket, but the bracket's it's toast anyway. But I really like Gonzaga and K-State, or who's the other one? I really like Creighton. I had Creighton going to the Final Four, I believe. Obviously, I didn't know it was going to be Princeton, Creighton. We didn't know what this matchup was going to be, but I really like Creighton and Gonzaga.
As a Bama fan, you have to root for Princeton, right? You would much rather play Princeton than Creighton, I would think.
I don't know. I think it's going to be difficult. These games from now on, it's just going to be difficult regardless of the team. I'm more worried for defensive-minded teams, honestly, getting past San Diego State. Because we have such a good defense, I'm more worried about what our offense can do and how other defenses can hold our offense versus defense. Yeah. Our defense not being good enough, because I think our defense is pretty solid, and I'm not worried about the defensive play, but what we can do offensively and what other teams can do defensively.
Yeah. Jonathan?
I really like Tennessee. I thought Duke was going to make a fairly deep run. I like Hunter. I thought that Duke team did really good. They were looking really good for how watching the Tennessee game and just how well Tennessee played. I really like that Tennessee team. And Houston. I mean, I live in Houston, so I watched almost all their games this year. I mean, this team. I think that's the team to beat. I think Houston has the best chance to go all the way of the teams I have seen. I think Houston on that side of the bracket. If I couldn't go with Texas.
And the reason go ahead, Jack.
Oh, I was going to say, I got to watch Houston play actually against Tulsa this year. And I mean, like, we saw OU, Jeremy, play against Texas and Oklahoma State and Arkansas. And Houston looks like they're, in my opinion, a step above all the other teams we even saw Oklahoma play.
Yeah, they attack the glass. And for OU fans, there's so many OU connections because Kelvin, his son Kellen, two of their assistants, Quantus White and Hollis Price, were Sooners in the Final Four run. There's a lot of family connections of Sooners that are actually on staff there at Houston. But, yeah, the way they play reminds me of a lot of, like, Michigan State back in the day, how just they out-rebound you, they attack the glass. They're really not, outside of Shed and Sasser, it's not like they're great shooters. But, man, they get so many second-chance points, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Were you gonna say something, Seth?
Yeah, I was just gonna give what I was looking for through the finals.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just taking a look at things. I got to go with what Jaxon and Hunter were saying. I would love to see Kansas State head to the national championship, and then on the other side of things, I just really like the UConn Huskies. I think it would be cool to see them get back to the championship. I've been to the University of Connecticut, beautiful place, and it's fun to watch them this season. So I'd love to see some K-State UConn action in the national championship.
Player of the tournament. Who's it going to be? Who's going to be the guy?
Marquise Noel.
Yep.
Marquise Noel.
He's been insane.
Marquise Noel is what we call a dog.
His court vision is next level.
Who's the guy for Houston that had like 26 the other night? Roberts?
Sasser?
No, what? It wasn't.
Roberts. He's their center.
Yeah, this dude, Kelvin Sampson, went to ISO, went 1-4, and just said, "Here, you take the ball at the top and do whatever you want." And I think
it's Tremont Mark. I think that's who it was.
It was Mark. That's who it was. Yeah, they couldn't guard him, guys. He looked very impressive. That's going to be my guy, Trayvon Mark.
If Dylan Dessou has another game like he did on Saturday, I mean, he's had 17 and 10, and he had 26, and I think he had 10 rebounds as well. Yeah, he had another double-double. So he had 28 and 10, 17 and 10. He has another game like 25 and 11. I mean, who knows what he could do? If Texas goes, I'll say, all the way to the national championship, is he going to score 20 points in all these games except the round of 64 game? I mean, it's hard to go against that for best player in tournament. He was the Big 12 tournament player of the tournament. So, I mean, I could see him adding that if Texas goes all the way.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, Javen, you're the only one here who is not given your national champion pick as we sit on the verge of the Sweet 16. Who do you got?
So my national champion actually was UCLA. So I had them winning it all. But yeah, I think they just play well-rounded basketball. They've got an experienced team as well, and guys that have played a lot together. So I think that's a good blend to have when it comes to March. So they're hot. I think they could play well and take it all the way.
Yeah, they got a tough Sweet 16 matchup with Drew Timme. Drew Timme in March is just a different breed.
Yeah, we know what happened last time UCLA had to play Gonzaga. Jalen Suggs hit that wild shot from half court. And I think if Suggs doesn't hit that shot, UCLA wins the national championship that year.
I agree.
Yeah, that UCLA team was really good. It was just.
I mean, they're led by Juzang, who he plays, I forget where in the NBA, but I know he plays.
Do they still have the coach? Is UCLA's coach is still the guy from that was Cincinnati?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I mean, he's definitely a good coach. Yeah, Claire mentioned Gonzaga, and then you just brought him up again. Drew Timme, I don't know if you saw his comments about what he said in the locker room.
Yeah.
Dude, that guy's a leader, man. I want him on my team. I mean, that guy, you don't need a coach when you got a guy like that in the locker room.
Yeah, guess what? He's probably coming back for a 5th year. I'll be shocked if he doesn't.
If he wins it all, he's going to be the player of the tournament. And if Alabama wins it all, it's going to be Brandon Miller. And Campbell, maybe if who UCLA wins. So it really, I guess it just depends on who wins as far as player of the tournament. And maybe it's not Brandon Miller if Alabama does win it all. This guy who's been
that one's a little. I don't know if they would consider the round of 64 game really.
Yeah, because he did drop 0 in 19 minutes in the round of 64 game. So
we don't know. There's this controversy. I'm sure all of y'all are aware of the controversy that is happening, and I'm gonna choose not to say my opinions or anything what I think of the controversy. But I will say this: I know the media pushes. It's not just with sports; it's with everything. They push a certain point of view. I'm not saying he didn't do anything. I'm not saying if I think the program's disciplining him enough, but I think part of that might have been a discipline thing that we don't know about, that it might not have been public, why he did not play. That's just my speculation, totally. But I think that, they want him further on, and this team believes that he can go further. And so they kept him under 20 minutes of playtime. Coach Oates talked about, they were really trying to keep him under 20 minutes of playing time in that first round because they were pretty confident that they were going to win. Obviously, we don't know until it's over. You got to fight till the last even seconds in these March Madness games. But when they want him later on, and he hadn't, he went from 0 to 19 points, And so although he wasn't the top scorer on the team, I really like Javen Quinterly actually to possibly be the player of the tournament, because he's a senior, he's well seasoned and experienced, and he just is highly underrated in my opinion. He's a guard, and so he just has done a phenomenal job. He had 22 points and 22 points and he had only 2 rebounds, but typically he averages more rebounds. And there's just so many players that I would say that this team is so talented and loaded. I think so many times that the focus is on Brandon Miller when this team is loaded with talent and just this talent. And so, obviously teams don't always win upon just talent. You have to work as a team, and you have to have a well-coached team, and they have to play to those abilities. But I like Brandon Miller, and it is very possible that he could win that player of the tournament. But I don't know. I really like Javen Quinterly as well for Alabama if they do end up winning it.
You bring up a point. Who are the last 5 champions, NCAA champions. Can we name them? Who are they?
Kansas,
Okay.
Baylor, Gonzaga.
Yeah. Baylor, Gonzaga. Is it also
Villanova or North
Yeah,
Carolina?
North Carolina and Villanova.
I think Villanova got one. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, because Eric Pascal hit that shot at the end.
right. The point is, look at the coaches of those teams. It's rare that and I'm not saying anything against Texas's coach because I love Rodney Terry. I think he's done a great job, and I don't know why he has not been offered, except they're probably waiting until the tournament goes. But you look at the coaches. Are there teams we're leaving out? We've talked about a lot of teams. Any team outside of maybe Tom Izzo, is there any other team that we're leaving out that may have a superstar coach that we're forgetting about? Or
Mark Few.
Mark Few, yeah. I mean,
but he hasn't won that national championship yet, so I don't know if we can.
So did Gonzaga not win? No, because they lost, right? Yeah.
I thought they won it. Okay, yeah.
I thought they did too.
They lost to Baylor, didn't they?
That's right. Baylor.
Yeah, Gonzaga's just that team that this is.
They never perform in March.
Their fifth straight Sweet 16 performance, and they're in the Final Four more times than not. I mean, so much that we thought they won the national championship. And
didn't Virginia get a championship a couple
years ago? There you
go.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Right. I forgot.
Because they did it the year after they lost to the 16 seed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I almost won a lot of money on that game.
Oh, I remember that.
If Texas Tech would have took the 2 to win it in regulation, I won $1,000.
I forgot Texas Tech was in that.
Yeah, Chris Beard. I had the final score prediction of 77-75, and it was 75-75. And for whatever reason, Tech pulled up from 3, missed it, and the game goes to overtime. So, yeah, that was
also the game too where Ty Jerome traveled at the end and it wasn't called, but that's a whole nother talk for another day. Hunter, I'm in the same place as you. I had Texas Tech going all the way that year.
Yeah, I think to kind of close this out, you guys want to give your Sweet 16 picks game by game?
Yeah, let's do it. You got it, Hunter?
Yeah, I got the list right here. So, first game up, we got Kansas State and Michigan State. I've said it earlier. I have Kansas State going all the way to the national championship, so I'm going to take the Wildcats here.
I'll pick State because Big 12 and Tom.
Seth, what do you got?
I'll take Kansas State. They're just looking a little bit too hot right now to be stopped in the Sweet 16.
Jonathan?
I'm gonna go Kansas State as well. I mean, you look at how dominant this team's been in their past couple games. It's hard not to pick them for how they're playing.
Yep. Kansas State, I don't got to say much.
I'll take Tom Izzo and Michigan State. I think people are overlooking how passionate Tom Izzo's been in this tournament. And, I mean, he's always been there every tournament. He's been there. He's been a threat. But this year, he has almost a different mantra around him. He seems really fiery compared to other years, and I think he's willing to do what it takes to find a way to keep his team going.
I think it's going to be a closer game than what some people might think. But I have K-State going to the Sweet 16.
Yeah. So actually in that game, majority of the people here, all but one, or I guess Jeremy, picked Michigan State. Or wait, no, my bad. I don't know what I'm thinking about. Yeah, all but one picking Kansas State. Michigan State is favored by 2 as of right now by Sportsbook.
Wow.
Next up, the next game of the Sweet 16, Arkansas UConn. Arkansas, that Arkansas Kansas pick for me in my bracket was a very tough pick on Arkansas. Just they're so talented, and in March that team should win. And then you have Kansas, defending national champ, 1 seed, best team in the Big 12. Team should win, but I had Kansas going to the Final Four. Now, kind of looking at it, I can see Arkansas making that run, so I'm going to go with the Hogs.
Woo pig suey for me, yeah.
taking a look at that one, Arkansas, UConn, it feels like in these first couple games, UConn, they've had some issues at the start. I think that could definitely bite them there, but I'm just going to go with my heart and take the Huskies.
I'd Arkansas winning against Kansas, so they didn't show me anything not to pick them, so I'm going with Arkansas again.
See, in my opinion, this may be the most tough game that we have to pick throughout it all. I think this is a hard game, and I look at Arkansas. They have guys like Nick Smith and Anthony Black, but I think it's going to come down to the team that can do the most dirty work, get the most boards, and I think that's going to be UConn.
I agree with Jackson. This is a very hard game to pick. And I think these are two very good teams. Arkansas definitely, I think, was underseeded a little bit, but I am going to go with Arkansas. I think they're hot right now. And this team is full of a lot of energy, and I think they can bring it to UConn.
Yeah, I agree. I have Arkansas. I think it's also going to be a close game. But I think the Hogs are going to go farther than people are thinking. And the SEC's been killing it so far, so might be a little bit of a biased pick.
Yeah, I've held on to some hope over Porter Moser on the fact that we're going to the SEC, and now it's looking like the SEC is better than the Big 12. So,
if the Big 12 gets two teams in the Final Four, you can't really say that.
We've had way too many lose. So.
Sure.
Well, also technically at this point, I consider Houston a part of our conference as well. So technically, they have 3 Final Four.
So another shocker. Looking at the sports book, the almost unanimous pick is the underdog. UConn's favored by 3.5. Let's see if we can change it this time with Florida Atlantic and Tennessee. I said it before, Duke was a team that I really thought could go very far. I had ORU going to the Elite Eight, and then Duke beat them. And then now Tennessee beat Duke. I got Tennessee. The SEC is just something else right now.
This may surprise you. You know how I like underdogs. The coach for Florida Atlantic talked about how they're going to watch Australian rules rugby to prepare for Tennessee. And anyone who mentions Australian rules rugby, I'm in Florida Atlantic in this game. It's easier to get up and play. People don't expect you to win, look, Rick Barnes is a good coach. He's a great coach, but there's been times he hasn't been able to win maybe some of these big games, and I'm going to say this is another one he loses.
Yeah, Tennessee always has a really good season, and then March Madness comes around, and they either, like now, make it to the Sweet 16, look like a team that can go even farther, and then it's just a collapse that happens. So, Seth, who do you got?
Taking a look at the end of that FDU FAU game. I mean, I get that emotions were running high, but maybe a little bit too much zest on the 360 dunk that didn't go in at the end of the game for my taste from FAU. I got to go with Tennessee here. They're going to hopefully get the win, avenge the loss of America's team, the FDU Knights.
I'm also going to go Tennessee. I talked about it earlier. I think they can make a deep run. I have no reason to think that since I thought Duke, like Hunter, was going to make a fairly decent run after beating ORU in the tournament, I have no reason to think Tennessee's not going to win this game.
Yeah, Jonathan, I have a question for you real quick. What are your thoughts on Grant Williams on the bus to Jason Tatum?
Grant needs to shut his mouth. Okay, don't tell Donovan Mitchell you're going to make 2 free throws, go brick both of them, and cost us a game. Cost us the number 1 seed. You want $20 million? Get out. You can ask Hunter. He is my least favorite player on the team. I cannot stand him.
Yeah, Jackson, who do you got in that game?
Well, I don't even know if I could see Florida Atlantic scoring 50 points against Tennessee, because we saw Tennessee held Duke to 53 points. So I think Tennessee is going to blow them out.
Yeah, it's me. I think Tennessee's got this one as well. I think their performance against Duke was really convincing. I wasn't so sure about them coming into the tournament. but they definitely convinced me when it came to Purdue, and also along the lines of what Seth said. I think Florida Atlantic having that embarrassing, I guess you could say, 360 dunk attempt.
I mean, I don't even know what it was horrible. What was it?
Yeah. And I think that kind of just took away that big spark they had for making it to the Sweet 16 after kind of ending it in that embarrassing way. So I'm taking Tennessee.
I think I'm going to take Tennessee too. I'm a Duke fan. I have family that's from, obviously, I've watched Duke for more years actually than I've watched Alabama basketball. I'm not a bandwagon. My aunt, my family, I was born in North Carolina, but I like the Duke Blue Devils, and with this impressive win that Tennessee had over them, and even Tennessee beating a red hot Alabama. They were coming off after the loss from OU. They won their next 4 games by like an average margin of like 25, 26 points, and they beat them by 11. So I like Tennessee. I have them going far.
Yeah, that's the first one so far. Tennessee the favorites at 5.5. So
Wow.
the final game of Thursday night, 3 seed Gonzaga, 2 seed UCLA. Gonzaga, Drew Timme, March Madness. The Zags are winning it.
Totally agree, Hunter. I'm not even a Mark Few fan, but I love Drew Timme. And
I hate Drew Timme, but he's just so good. Like, there's no other way to put it.
I'm going for. And the zesty dunk, that's what separates these underdog teams from these teams who would never do that. That's what you got to love about. That's going to be on one shining moment. It has to be.
Jeremy, what did you just say? What kind of dunk?
The zesty dunk.
Do you even know what zesty means?
I don't know y'all's language.
Oh my gosh.
Let's just say that dunk attempt was bussing. It wasn't dog water. It had Elriz over it. Y'all's language too.
It's even worse. It's even worse. Okay.
Seth, who do you got in that game?
I mean, Gonzaga's been here so many times. It just feels like each time the hype raises on Gonzaga, they find a way. They find a way to lose. So I gotta take the UCLA Bruins.
I gotta agree with Seth. I mean, how many times has Gonzaga been like a favorite or picked to win the tournament and they lose in the Sweet 16 or like the round 32? Like Gonzaga, and they never perform in March. So I'm gonna go with that role. I'm going UCLA.
I'm gonna have to go with Drew Timme, guys. I think he's gonna do it.
I'm gonna go with UCLA. I think part of the reason Gonzaga struggles in March sometimes, or struggles to come through when they're the favorites, is I don't think the West Coast Conference prepares them to play consecutive good games. They can play a good game here and there, but when it comes to playing good games for 6 straight games, I don't think the West Coast Conference prepares you for that. And I think UCLA, like I said earlier, is a great, well-rounded team. So I'll take UCLA.
I like UCLA, but I'm gonna have to go with Gonzaga. I haven't watched them in years past a bunch, but I'm gonna go with the unpopular pick, just to be the unpopular pick, and I'm gonna go with Gonzaga.
Yeah, so in that game, UCLA is favored by 2 right now, and that brings us to Alabama, San Diego State. Is this the time that Bama goes down? I don't know. I guess I'll go with it. Yes, San Diego State.
Yeah, I'm picking Emma, and the more I watch Emma, and the athleticism always wins games. To me, defense, rebounding, athleticism, multiple guards for the ball, they're going to win, in my opinion, Alabama.
Yeah, the SEC has proved itself, through these first couple of rounds, and Alabama, they really separated themselves from Maryland. So I'm going to take Alabama to head of the Elite Eight.
I'm also going to roll with Bama. I mean, I've talked about how good of a team I think they are for how they performed this season. I think Bama's going to go past.
Possibly if San Diego State had Kawhi on their team, they would have a chance. But outside of that, I don't think they have a chance against Alabama.
Yeah, no. I mean, I think Bama's too good. I think Brandon Miller is too good. So yeah, I'm taking Alabama.
I'm taking Alabama too. I think it's going to be a close game. It's going to definitely be a battle of the defenses. So it's going to come down to who has, better shots, better accuracy. And because we really struggled with that in the last game, we didn't have great shots. And even when we didn't have Brandon Miller, I just want to point out, even when we didn't have Brandon Miller, even though we were playing a 16 seed, our bench had like 49 points. So, Nick Pringles stepped up and he had like a ton of points. And I really have liked this team with Charles Bediako. But I think the two key factors are going to be if our offense, my mistake, if our offense can really get to work, if our defense can, stay consistent. And we've really been having some problems with foul troubles the last couple of games. So I'll be interested to see if Charles Bediako and Noah Clowney can stay off of, 4 or less fouls. Or 3 or less fouls, because they've been averaging like 3 or 4. Charles Bediako fouled out a couple times, in the last like 2 weeks. And so I have Bama Roll Tide.
Yeah, Bama is favored by 7.5. One of the bigger margins so far, not the biggest. We'll get to that in a minute. Miami, Houston. It's just they're the 1 seed. They're my national champion pick. I'm going with Kelvin Sampson and Houston Cougars.
I'm going with Houston because they're also my national championship pick. I love Kelvin Sampson and the fact that I forgot Miami was even in this tournament.
Hey, Jeremy, Miami beat the team that Jay, your brother, Jason, had going to the national championship.
I agree.
Well, Hunter, I'm also convinced that Jason knows nothing about college basketball, picking Indiana to go all the way. So,
and you know what's so funny is in our March Madness bracket reaction podcast, Jason, it was very clear to point out how his name was up there of the 20 million brackets one year where he was in like the top 50 or something like that. And then this year, his national champion pick is gone.
it's 20 million.
Day 1. And then Indiana,
Miami
runner up, gone.
Yeah, taking a look at things in this round, you got to go with Houston. They're the 1 seed for a reason. They're out rebounding Miami as well, and I think that becomes pretty big as things go down the stretch.
Yeah, I also think Houston's going to win this game. I mean, they're just so dominant. They're so good, and they're such a well-rounded team. Houston's going to win this game.
I think that a lot of people around the college basketball world don't really know how good of a team Miami is because they're debatably the best offensive team in the country, led by Nigel Peck. And I think Houston's going to show why they're going to debatably win the national championship with being able to shut down their offense. So I think Houston will win.
Miami's a great team, don't get me wrong. And I had a lot of doubts about Houston going into the tournament, but they've definitely silenced all of those. And I think Houston's a team that can really jump on you, especially in the early going. So I'll take Houston.
Yeah, I'm going to pick Houston too. They really caught fire after their loss to Alabama. And I think they only had 2 losses, maybe 1 after that game. And I think they've gotten increasingly better since that game. So I'm going to go with Houston.
Yeah, in that game, Houston is favored by 7. And that brings us to Princeton, Creighton, Cinderella story, another one from New Jersey. And just as a spite, my biggest hater, he's not on here, Brody Lusk, I'm going with Princeton.
I'm also going with Princeton because of Ivy League, and it's a heart pick. I remember when I was growing up and you guys weren't even born, they did the backdoor cut all game long, backdoor cut, and upset. I think it was Duke, and I've been a Princeton fan ever since. So I would love to see Princeton win this game, and I'm going to pick Princeton as a Cinderella.
Yeah, Creighton needs to keep Princeton in front of them, and they can't let Princeton get hot from deep. Mizzou let them do both of those things, but I think Princeton can do it again. Give me the Princeton Tigers.
This game's a hard one because I watched a Creighton team at the beginning of the year play a Texas team led by Chris Beard, and that was a hard game for the Longhorns to win. And so, from what I've seen from Creighton, they've obviously changed, gone through some up and downs, injuries, and everything throughout the whole season. This is a hard matchup. I want to go the Cinderella story, Princeton. I want to go the 15 seed, making it all the way to the Elite Eight. But I got to go with the Creighton Blue Jays. I've got to. In my gut, I think that's who's going to win this game.
Yeah, really down in my heart, I want Princeton to win, and I think I'm going to pick Princeton to win just because of the Cinderella story, and just like I said earlier, who doesn't love a good Cinderella story?
As much as I want Princeton to win, Creighton, I think, is just a really good team, and without some injuries last year, I think they would have given Kansas a big run for their money in the second round, and they did for about the first 35 minutes of that game. And so that being said, I think Creighton ends the Cinderella story of Princeton.
I don't know. This one's a tough one. I don't know. I don't know what I think. Outside of Alabama basketball, my knowledge is not very far. And if Alabama does win against San Diego State, I don't know which team I would rather have them play. My heart wants to pick Princeton. I mean, who doesn't love a Cinderella story? But my gut is telling me Creighton. I think they're highly underrated. I don't know why they're a 6 seed. I think they probably should have been a little bit higher, but I'm going to go with Creighton.
Kind of a shocker when you look. Everyone kind of struggled with picks on this one, and this is the biggest spread. Creighton is favored by 9.5. Final matchup, Sweet 16, Xavier and Texas. I don't want the Longhorns to win, but actually, I'm going to go with some reverse psychology, and for the first time all tournament, I will pick the Texas Longhorns. Maybe they will move on. Who knows?
Texas. That's all I'll say because I don't really talk about Texas, but they're going to win. They're too athletic.
Texas.
Hey, Jonathan, you're muted.
The
Muted,
Texas
Jonathan.
muted. That's ironic.
I'm gonna go Texas, obviously. Jabari Rice, Tyrese Hunter, Marcus Carr can't have the shooting performances. I think I may have touched on this briefly in the first episode that I didn't want Texas to rely too much on the 3-pointer after an amazing shooting performance in the round of 64 game, and that seemed to have been the case early in the Penn State game. We were relying too much on the 3. So I just want feed the ball to Dylan DeSue and Timmy Allen down low early, and then work on getting the other guys involved. Marcus Carr can still continue to shoot mid-ranges. I mean, his mid-range was amazing in Penn State. So they just got to go in with a mixture of how they went into the Colgate game and into the Penn State game. They can bring those together. They'll get past Xavier easily.
Just to be the person on this pod that's the butthole, I'm going to pick Xavier. Just to be the person. I'm sorry, Jonathan. You may not like it, but
I'm going to take Texas. I think they've been too good in the tournament so far, and even the Big 12 tournament. Ever since that got rolling, they've been hot. And a big part of March Madness is being hot at the right time. So I'll take Texas.
I don't know. I'm going to go with Texas because I don't even want to say anymore. I'm not even an OU fan, and I don't want to say good things about Texas.
Yeah, see, he hasn't. Claire, you haven't drank the wrong Kool-Aid all your life, so
It's okay. We'll get to talking more when football season comes, and I'll come for the Texas Longhorns.
Yeah, so that matchup, Texas is favored by 4. If they do win, that keeps what I said earlier, Final Four, heartbreak alive for Jonathan. So that's going to do it. It's been a fun 55 minutes with almost all of our writers from SurgeSportsNetwork.com. If you're not already subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. You'll get some fantastic articles from all these writers, not just OU content. We're trying to do everything we can. The more, the merrier. We have Seth here, Missouri Tigers, Jonathan, Texas Longhorns, Javen, Kansas Jayhawks, and Claire, Alabama Crimson Tide. So that's a pretty wide variety of teams. We also got some professional sports content. Brody with the Thunder. I've been covering the World Baseball Classic, MLB, all that stuff. And if you're not already subscribed to our YouTube channel, go ahead and subscribe on Spotify. Appreciate you guys listening. We'll probably have another Sweet 16 recap come, I guess. Would it be Saturday? Saturday morning, hopefully. Who knows?
Good, guys. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you.